Let me ask you something. Have you ever stood up in the morning, stretched a little, and thought, wow, I'm really feeling my age today? I know I have. But here's the thing. I've also discovered that age doesn't have to be a limit. In fact, I believe it can be a starting point. I'm 70, and I can honestly say I feel more alive now than I did in my 50s. A big part of that is thanks to something that sounds simple, but is life-changing: staying active. Now don't worry, I'm not talking about running marathons or doing handstands in yoga class, although if that's your thing, go for it. What I'm sharing today is my real, weekly fitness routine. The things I actually do, week in and week out, to keep my energy up, my joints moving, and my mind feeling clear. And the best part, most of it doesn't even require a gym membership. You see, after turning 65, I started noticing little things: getting winded while gardening, feeling stiff after sitting too long, and waking up with creaky knees. At first, I thought, well, that's just part of getting older. But I was wrong. When I began moving more intentionally, just a little each day, everything started to shift. Not overnight, but gradually. My posture improved, I had more stamina, and my moods? Way more balanced. Science backs this up. Research published in the British Journal of Sports Medicine found that even light physical activity, like walking or gentle stretching, significantly lowers the risk of heart disease and boosts cognitive function in adults over 65. That was the wake-up call I needed. I thought, okay, let's try this out. Let's build a routine that works for real life. Before we keep going, I'd love your help with something. If you're enjoying this video so far, comment Y below. If not, comment N. It helps me know what's working and what to improve. And don't forget to hit subscribe if you haven't yet. Now let's dive deeper. So here's what a typical week looks like for me. I start every single morning before breakfast, before coffee, with something simple: movement. Just 10 minutes. Sometimes I stretch gently while listening to music. Sometimes I take a slow walk around the garden. It doesn't have to be fancy, but those 10 minutes are sacred now. You might be wondering, why the morning? Well, our bodies love rhythm. Studies show that morning movement helps regulate circadian rhythms, which in turn improves sleep, digestion, and mood. It's like giving your body a little nudge that says, hey, we're awake now, let's get going. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday are what I call my strength and stretch days. I use light resistance bands, nothing too intense, and I focus on major muscle groups: shoulders, legs, back. I do a few standing squats near the kitchen counter for balance, some arm curls, and maybe a few seated leg lifts if my knees are feeling cranky. It's not about building muscle like a bodybuilder. It's about keeping what I have and preventing that slow decline that happens when we stop using our bodies. I once read that after age 50, we lose about 1 to 2% of muscle mass every year if we don't actively work to maintain it. That sounds scary, but here's the good news: it's reversible. Even at 70, your muscles respond to resistance training. And it doesn't have to be heavy. A can of soup in each hand, a resistance band, or even just body weight can do wonders. Tuesday and Thursday, I shift gears. Those are my cardio and coordination days. Sometimes that means a brisk walk at the local park with a friend. Sometimes I do a follow-along dance video in my living room. I'm not exactly graceful, but I'm moving, I'm laughing, and I'm getting my heart rate up. What I love about dance is that it combines physical movement with mental coordination. You're not just moving, you're remembering steps, adjusting balance, listening to rhythm. That combo is gold for brain health. A study from the New England Journal of Medicine found that dancing actually reduces the risk of dementia more than other physical activities. Now that's what I call joyful prevention. And then, of course, there's the weekend. Saturday is usually my nature day. I pick a trail or a beach or even a nice sidewalk route and just enjoy the walk. I take my time, breathe deeply, no rush. Sunday, that's my rest and recovery day. But, and this is important, it's active rest. Maybe I do some gentle yoga or just stretch while watching my favorite show. It's not about doing nothing. It's about letting my body restore itself while staying connected to movement. The beauty of this routine is that it's flexible. If I wake up feeling off or didn't sleep well, I adjust. Some weeks I do more walking, less resistance. Other weeks, I feel great and push a little harder. But I never stop entirely. Because when I stop, I feel it. My energy dips, my joints stiffen, and my mood sinks. When I move, I feel alive. And I'm not alone in this. I have a friend, Linda, who started doing water aerobics twice a week at 72. She says it changed everything, from her mobility to her confidence. It's never too late to start, and you don't have to do it perfectly. You just have to begin. Next, I want to talk about something a lot of people overlook when starting a routine at our age: recovery and flexibility. It's not just about doing more, it's about doing it wisely. That's what we'll get into in the next section, including how I stay injury-free and motivated even on the tough days. Before we begin, I want to make one thing clear. This video is for informational purposes only and is based on publicly available research. Everyone's health is different, so always consult your doctor or a qualified healthcare provider before making any changes to your lifestyle, diet, or exercise routine. Scientific knowledge is always evolving, and what works for one person may not work for another. Now, let's get back to the good stuff. As I mentioned earlier, I'm all about keeping my routine flexible, and that includes paying attention to recovery. One thing I've learned the hard way is that recovery is just as important as the workouts themselves. I used to think that the more I did, the better the results. But as I've gotten older, I've realized that too much intensity, especially without proper recovery, can lead to burnout or injury. A study in the Journal of Applied Physiology showed that recovery time between workouts is crucial for older adults, as muscles and tissues take longer to repair. It's all about balance. Too little movement, and your body starts to stiffen. Too much intensity, and you risk overexertion. The key is finding that sweet spot. For me, flexibility and stretching are the cornerstone of my recovery process. Every day I make time, sometimes just 10 to 15 minutes in the morning or before bed, to stretch. It's my personal way of saying, "Hey, thank you, body, for moving today." I've found that incorporating gentle stretches after my strength or cardio sessions helps prevent muscle soreness and stiffness. Plus, it calms my mind, which is a huge bonus. Now let's talk about something I'm sure many of us have encountered: the "I don't feel like it" days. We all have them. Some mornings I wake up and I just don't have the energy or motivation to get moving. But I've learned a little trick that helps me push through. I call it the 5-minute rule. Here's how it works. I promise myself I'll move for just 5 minutes. No pressure, no judgment. But more often than not, after 5 minutes, I feel so much better that I keep going. It's funny how that works, right? Starting is often the hardest part. I've found this trick to be particularly useful when I don't feel like walking or doing any kind of exercise. Once I'm up and moving, I'm usually good to go. But there's something else that helps keep me motivated: having a sense of purpose. My friend Jane, who's in her late 60s, started volunteering to walk dogs at a local animal shelter. She didn't realize it at the time, but that commitment gave her exercise routine a sense of meaning. Instead of just walking for the sake of it, she was helping animals who needed it. That sense of purpose made it easier for her to get out the door. A study from the American Journal of Preventive Medicine found that people who have a purpose in life are more likely to stay active and healthy as they age. It's the same principle as having a reason to exercise. It's not just about the physical benefits, but the emotional and mental boost you get from being engaged in something larger than yourself. Whether it's helping others, joining a group fitness class, or simply committing to take care of your health, having a purpose is a game changer. Another aspect of staying active that's really made a difference for me is the role of social connection. Let me tell you, I've learned the hard way that working out alone can sometimes feel like a chore. But when I have a friend to walk with, or when I join a class, it's a whole different story. Suddenly, exercise becomes something fun, something I look forward to instead of dreading. That's why I love group activities. I've tried a local Tai Chi class on Saturdays, and I can't recommend it enough. It's gentle, it helps with balance, and the best part is the social aspect. Everyone is so supportive, and there's always a feeling of camaraderie. When I'm doing Tai Chi with others, it's not about competition, it's about connection. Science also supports the importance of social interaction for maintaining an active lifestyle. According to the National Institute on Aging, older adults who engage in social activities and physical activities together tend to experience better outcomes in both mental and physical health. So, if you're not already part of a group, I highly encourage you to find one. whether it's walking with a friend, joining a fitness class, or even participating in community events. And while we're on the topic of mental health, I have to mention something I've learned about managing stress. A little while ago, I noticed that I was getting more anxious than usual, especially as I thought about all the things I should be doing: exercise, work, social obligations, etc. But I realized that part of staying active is also giving yourself permission to rest without guilt. I used to feel bad for taking a break, but I've learned that rest isn't the enemy. In fact, it's essential for progress. That's when I started practicing mindfulness techniques, even just for 5 minutes a day. Whether it's deep breathing, a short meditation, or simply being present in the moment, I found it helps reduce stress and allows me to appreciate my workouts even more. I've even heard from people my age who have found yoga or guided meditation incredibly helpful for managing stress and boosting their physical health. Now, let me leave you with a bit of a teaser for what's coming up next. In the next part, we'll dive into the role of nutrition and hydration in supporting your fitness routine. Because let's face it, exercise alone isn't enough. How we fuel our bodies makes all the difference, and I can't wait to share some of my tips. And before we jump back in, I want to take a moment to remind you, if you're finding this video helpful, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe. Your support means the world to me. Now let's talk about something that many people struggle with as they age: overcoming challenges. It's easy to get caught up in the belief that our best years are behind us, or that it's just too late to start something new. I've heard this from friends, and I've even thought it myself. But here's the truth: staying active at 70 is not only possible, it's necessary. And it's so much more than just physical movement. It's about mindset. One of the biggest hurdles I've faced is overcoming my own inner critic. You know, the voice that says, "You're too old for this," or "It's not worth the effort." I used to let that voice control my decisions, but now I've learned to push past it. I remind myself that age is just a number, and I choose to act my age, not feel my age. I know it's not always easy. There are mornings when I wake up and I feel stiff or a little off. But the key is to acknowledge those feelings without letting them define my actions. There's a saying that's really stuck with me: you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. I didn't become active because I was already feeling great. I became active because I started. And with each small step, I feel better. It's the consistency that builds up. I know someone who started walking only 10 minutes a day, but over time, that 10 minutes turned into 30 minutes, then an hour. And the best part? She didn't need to wait until she felt 100%. She just got started. The science behind this is powerful too. A study in JAMA Internal Medicine showed that adults over 70 who exercised consistently improved their physical function, mobility, and overall quality of life, regardless of their starting point. So if you're thinking, "I'm not where I used to be," that's okay. The point is, you're here, and you're moving forward. Another challenge we face as we age is fear of injury. I get it. I've had my fair share of worries about overdoing it or causing a strain. But here's what I've learned. It's not about avoiding movement. It's about listening to your body. If something doesn't feel right, I stop. I take a break, and I adjust. For example, when I first started doing strength training with resistance bands, I was worried I'd hurt myself. But I listened to my body, started with lighter resistance, and focused on form over intensity. Over time, I built strength gradually, and the fear of injury faded. That's why it's so important to start slow and focus on technique, rather than trying to push yourself too hard. Another thing that's been incredibly helpful in preventing injury is regular stretching. As we age, our muscles and tendons lose flexibility, and that increases the risk of strains and sprains. That's why I've made stretching a non-negotiable part of my routine. It's just as important as the workouts themselves. Not only does it prevent injury, but it also helps with balance, which becomes more important as we get older. Speaking of balance, I can't stress enough how important it is for staying independent as we age. I've noticed that when I'm consistent with my strength and balance exercises, things like standing on one leg or doing Tai Chi, it helps me feel more grounded, both literally and figuratively. In fact, research in the Journal of the American Geriatric Society has shown that balance exercises can reduce the risk of falls in older adults by over 30%. And falling? Well, that's one thing we all want to avoid. But here's the thing about balance. It's not just physical. It's emotional and mental too. As we get older, we face different challenges like changing relationships, loss, or even uncertainty about the future. Staying active doesn't just help with physical strength. It also strengthens our emotional resilience. For me, a big part of staying mentally strong is focusing on gratitude and staying present. I've made a habit of reflecting on what I'm grateful for after every workout. It could be something as simple as feeling my breath deepen, or noticing that I can stretch a little further than I could last week. These small moments of gratitude remind me that I'm not just keeping my body fit, I'm keeping my heart and mind healthy too. Now, I know the road to staying active isn't always smooth. There are days when I feel low, or when life gets in the way of my plans. And that's okay. One of the biggest mindset shifts I've had is accepting that some days are going to be harder than others. What matters is that I show up, even if it's just for a few minutes. And trust me, those days count. Another thing I've found really helpful is having an accountability partner. It doesn't have to be a formal workout buddy, just someone who checks in, someone who encourages you, or even just someone you share your progress with. This is a great way to stay motivated and keep pushing through when things get tough. Looking ahead, there's always room for growth and new challenges. Even though I'm 70, I'm still exploring new activities, whether it's hiking a longer trail or trying a new form of exercise. And that, I think, is the key. Never stop trying. Whether it's trying a new exercise, setting a new goal, or simply finding a new reason to move, there's always something to look forward to. It's about embracing the journey, not just the destination. So, in the next part, we'll wrap things up with a focus on nutrition and how fueling your body can make a huge difference in staying active and feeling great. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. Before we dive into the final takeaways, I just want to take a moment to say thank you. Your engagement, your time, it's truly what keeps me going, and I'm so glad we're on this journey together. If you haven't already, don't forget to like and subscribe to make sure you never miss out on more tips to help you live your best life at any age. Now, let's take a step back and recap everything we've covered. We've talked about the importance of staying active and how simple, consistent movements can make all the difference. Whether it's a walk in the park, stretching in the morning, or lifting a few weights, these small actions have a huge impact on your physical, mental, and emotional well-being. We also explored the challenges that come with staying active as we age, like the inner critic, fear of injury, or even simply not feeling like doing anything some days. But remember, every time you push through those obstacles, no matter how small, you're winning. It's not about perfection. It's about showing up and giving your body the love and attention it deserves. You're creating a routine that works for you, and that's something to be proud of. When we focus on movement, we often forget about the essential elements that help our bodies perform at their best. Like we discussed, recovery and rest are just as vital as exercise. Stretching, mindfulness, and giving yourself grace on the tougher days are all part of staying active with longevity in mind. Remember, you don't have to run a marathon to feel good. Start where you are and build from there. As I reflect on my own fitness journey at 70, one thing stands out above all else: the power of consistency. It's not about doing everything perfectly or sticking to a rigid routine. It's about showing up, even on the hard days. It's about finding the exercises that bring you joy, and then making time for them every week. I've found that when I make staying active a priority, it trickles into every other part of my life. I sleep better, feel more energized, and have a clearer mind. And most importantly, I feel capable of anything. But here's the thing, getting started is often the hardest part. Maybe today is the day you finally take that first step. Maybe it's a short walk, a little stretching, or even just a few minutes of deep breathing. Don't wait for the perfect moment or for motivation to magically appear. The truth is, motivation often follows action, not the other way around. So take that first step and watch how it opens the door to even more positive change. I want to share one last scientific insight with you, because I believe it's something worth remembering. A study from the American Journal of Preventive Medicine found that even just 150 minutes of moderate exercise a week, the amount recommended for adults, can reduce your risk of chronic diseases like heart disease, diabetes, and even certain types of cancer. And if you're over 70, those benefits are even more significant. Exercise isn't just about looking good or feeling good in the moment. It's about living a longer, healthier life. As you think about your own fitness journey, I encourage you to set realistic, achievable goals. Whether it's adding a few more minutes to your walk or trying a new type of exercise, take small steps and celebrate your progress along the way. Don't be afraid to ask for support, whether it's from a friend, a family member, or even a community group. And if you're ever feeling discouraged, remember this: every day you choose to move your body is a victory. Now, before we wrap up, I'd love to hear from you. If you have any suggestions for future topics or questions you want answered, write to us in the comments below. We're here to help, and your input could inspire our next video. And if you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss out on more practical tips for healthy aging. Here's to living your best life at any age.